Chosen one, anchor your spirit to what I am about to say right now. That exhaustion you have been carrying this week, the kind that sleep does not fix, I need you to hear what God says about it. He sees it. Every single layer of it. The enemy has been working overtime this week for one reason, and one reason only. He knows what God is about to release over your life. And a tired chosen one who keeps going anyway is the most dangerous weapon on the battlefield. It all shifts from here. The weariness, the weight, the wondering if any of it is worth it. But hear me clearly, this is not ending because you finally caught a break. It is ending because of what you have done in the middle of the exhaustion. That is what changed everything. Think back to that moment this week when every part of you wanted to stop. Maybe you sat at the edge of your bed in the early hours of the morning and you just stared at nothing. You had nothing left to pray, nothing left to believe with. But you did not walk away. You stayed. You did not know it then, but that moment of staying, that quiet, invisible, unwitnessed act of endurance, that was not weakness. That was the moment heaven moved on your behalf. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment that was written into your story before time began. You are standing at a threshold right now, and what you receive in the next few minutes is going to reframe everything you thought this season was about. Stay until the very last second, because in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the verdict that cancels the enemy's assignment of burnout over your life. I am going to walk you through the exact lie that has been draining you from the inside so you can identify it and cut it off at the root. And at the end, we are going to seal this declaration together with a prayer that covers every layer of your exhaustion and replaces it with supernatural strength. Do not click away. Your future self is standing just on the other side of this message, and they are begging you to stay. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The silence in your home has not just been quiet, it has been heavy. Like the air is pressing down on you from every direction, and you cannot explain why. Maybe you have been keeping it together on the outside while falling apart on the inside. Maybe you went through all the motions this week, showed up, smiled, did what you were supposed to do, but on the drive home, maybe it was in the car alone where the mask finally came off and you just sat there in the parking lot, too tired to go inside. Or maybe you woke up at 3:0 inches the morning this week, and the first thing that hit you before you even fully opened your eyes was that familiar wave of dread. Not fear, exactly, just weight. Just this knowing that another day was starting and you were not sure you had anything left to give it. You feel like you have been running a race that no one else can see, and the finish line keeps moving. And in that place, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. He has been telling you that your tiredness is evidence of your failure. He has been replaying moments from recent weeks in your mind, that conversation you did not handle perfectly, that commitment you could not keep, that day you could not get out of bed, and you told yourself you would pray, and you did not. He is holding those moments up like evidence and telling you that this is why God feels distant. He is telling you that you burned out because something is wrong with you, that chosen people do not get this tired, that your exhaustion disqualifies you. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Isaiah 40:29 says, "He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength." Listen to that promise carefully. He gives power to the faint, not to the strong, not to the ones who have it all together. He gives it specifically and intentionally to the faint, to the one who has run out. That means your exhaustion is not a barrier to God's power moving in your life. It is the precise condition that activates it. You do not have to get stronger before He moves. He moves because you are faint. The enemy has been lying to you about your tiredness. He has been trying to convince you that it is proof of your failure. But heaven reads it differently. Your exhaustion is not evidence that you have been abandoned. It is evidence that you have been fighting, and fighters do not get tired from doing nothing. You are tired because you have been carrying something real, pushing against something real, believing for something real, and that matters to God. The heaviness you feel is not the weight of punishment. It is the weight of a season that is about to break open. It is the tension in the rope right before the breakthrough pulls through. You are not falling behind. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are a chosen one at the end of a war that you already won. The moment this week when you had nothing left and stayed anyway, that was not your lowest point. That was your most powerful act of faith, and God saw every second of it. Most chosen ones who hear a message like this feel the fire for about 48 hours. Then the dryness returns, the doubt creeps back, the silence gets louder, and within a week they are exactly where they were before, waiting, wondering, spiritually exhausted. That cycle breaks today, or it does not. The inner sanctum puts a prophetic word from the throne room in your hands every single morning, 365 days of hearing God before the world can speak first. The link is in the first pinned comment. It will not be there forever, and neither will this window God just opened for you. And if that landed somewhere deep in your chest, if something in you said, "Yes, that's me," I want you to know that this message was not an accident. Before we go further, I need to tell you about something I put together specifically for people who are in this season. It's called Times, the Chosen One's Survival Guide. Times, a free ebook designed for the ones who carry more than most, who feel the weight of a calling they can't always explain. You can grab it right now through the link in the description. It will meet you exactly where you are. Now let's go deeper, because what I'm about to share is going to change the way you see your exhaustion entirely. Most people think being tired means something is wrong. They treat it like a warning light on a dashboard, a glaring signal that they've veered off course, that they've failed in some fundamental way. It feels like a personal indictment, a sign that their faith has wavered, that God has somehow retreated into silence, leaving them alone in the dust. But here's a truth that often gets lost in the noise of our striving. The profound depth of your fatigue, the bone-weary exhaustion that settles into your very marrow, is frequently the most eloquent testament to the immense weight you've been shouldering, a burden that was never intended for you to bear in isolation. You haven't grown tired because you are inherently weak. Rather, you've found yourself strong in places where countless others would have buckled and collapsed under the sheer pressure of it all. It's not a mark of failure, but a testament to your resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. Consider the prophet Elijah. We often recall the Elijah who stood as a solitary beacon on Mount Carmel, a figure of divine power calling down fire from the heavens, a spectacle of audacious faith. That is the Elijah who captures our imagination and our memory. But I want you to turn your gaze to a different Elijah, an Elijah who ran, an Elijah who, utterly spent and at the end of his rope, found himself beneath a broom tree in the desolate wilderness, his spirit a parched desert, uttering the words, "It is enough. Lord, take my life." This was not the cry of a man who had lost his faith. It was the raw, unvarnished plea of a soul who had poured out everything, who had given his all, and in the visible realm felt utterly depleted, as if there was nothing left to draw from. And what was God's response? Did he offer a stern reprimand? Did he command Elijah to return to the mountain and try harder, to muster more spiritual grit? No. God, in his infinite mercy, allowed him to sleep. And then a divine messenger, an angel, gently touched him and spoke words of profound significance. "Arise and eat. The journey is too great for you." Notice the precision of that language. It wasn't, "The journey is over." It wasn't, "You have failed." It was, "The journey is too great for times you." This implies that the weight you carry is real, that the task before you is indeed immense, but crucially, it acknowledges that the way you have been carrying it, alone and without respite, is unsustainable. And that message, the journey is too great for you, is a divine whisper meant for someone listening right now. The journey is too great, not for the Almighty, not for the divine power that orchestrates the cosmos, but for the isolated version of yourself that has been attempting to navigate this path without the essential elements of rest, of replenishment, of the fundamental human permission to simply be weary. But here's where the revelation deepens, where we peel back another layer of understanding. The core of the issue isn't merely the presence of fatigue. It's the insidious belief system you've inadvertently adopted about your tiredness. Somewhere along the winding road of your spiritual journey, you may have absorbed a flawed theology, one that equates rest with idleness, that interprets silence as an indicator of divine absence, and that perpetuates the myth that to cease forward motion is to lose momentum, to forfeit favor, to be disqualified from the sacred race. Consequently, you found yourself pushing relentlessly through seasons that were meticulously designed to invite pause and recalibration. You've inadvertently spiritualized your own depletion, transforming what was a divine signal for rest into a badge of honor, calling it sacrifice when heaven was clearly marking it as a critical signpost. This is the subtle, often unrecognized barrier that holds so many chosen ones captive. It's not always the external adversary that saps your strength most profoundly. It is, more often than not, your own deeply ingrained internal agreement that you must somehow earn the unearned grace that God has already freely bestowed. It's the persistent notion that you must validate your worthiness through sheer output, that your inherent value is inextricably linked to your productivity, your visibility, your unwavering consistency. And beloved, this is not faith, this is performance art, meticulously disguised as devout worship. And what is about to unfold next is likely to catch you by surprise. It has a way of doing that, doesn't it? Because once you begin to recognize that internal agreement for the illusion it truly is, you are compelled to confront something even more intimate, something rooted in your personal history. You must ask yourself, who first planted this seed? Who in your formative years modeled a relationship with the divine that was characterized by relentless striving, incessant doing, and a constant need to prove oneself? Because far more often than we realize, the exhaustion that plagues us isn't solely a spiritual affliction, it is an inherited burden. It has been passed down through generations who knew no respite, because rest was perceived as unsafe, a luxury they could not afford. They never stopped because to pause meant falling irretrievably behind. They mistook survival mode for faithfulness. And you, my friend, have likely been operating under a script that was written long before you ever entered the stage of life. David, the shepherd boy who would become king, understood this profoundly. Not the David who faced down the giant, not the David adorned with the crown and the mantle of royalty. Think of David the shepherd. Consider those formative years spent in obscurity, learning the subtle cadence of God's voice in the profound silence, long before he ever set foot on a battlefield. The anointing preceded the assignment. The deep preparation occurred long before the public platform, and it was in that season of waiting, of watchful stillness, of quiet obscurity, that is where the true, foundational work of his character was forged. God was not absent during David's hidden years, far from it. God was meticulously crafting within David a resilience, a character, a spiritual depth that no amount of public acclaim or success could ever have cultivated. Stay with me, because what is about to be revealed is the very element that has the power to shatter this inherited cycle, to break the chains of this relentless striving. You see, many people yearn for the breakthrough without embracing the essential process of becoming. They crave the open door without recognizing the vital inner work that the season of closed doors was designed to cultivate within them. But your tiredness, that profound, bone-deep, soul-level fatigue you're experiencing, is very often a clear indicator that a profound metamorphosis is underway. It signals that God is not merely clearing a path times for times you, but more importantly, He is diligently preparing times you, times for the path ahead. And these two aspects, while interconnected, are distinct and equally crucial. Now, here is a truth that many find difficult to accept, a part of the journey that often gets overlooked. Some of the immense weight you find yourself carrying right now, you willingly took it on yourself. Not out of recklessness, but because of your inherent sense of responsibility, because you possess a deep capacity to care, because when others faltered and turned away, you chose to remain. When the burden seemed too heavy for anyone else to lift, you graciously bent down and took it upon yourself, and you labeled this act as love, and in many respects, it truly was. But love, in its purest form, does not necessitate your own disappearance. True love does not demand that you continue to pour from an empty well, and then, impossibly, pour some more. At some critical juncture, the most faithful, the most loving act you can possibly undertake is to gently set down the burdens that were never divinely placed upon your shoulders, and to trust implicitly that God possesses the power to sustain and complete the work He initiated,